Hey everybody, it's Patric Fransko, and we are in the offices of VaynerMedia today, shooting a very special podcast. I have my friend Sebastian Kabis with me from Making the Web. He owns a digital agency in Germany, and we thought it'd be great while we're here at VaynerMedia to get together and talk to you guys about a couple things that are going on with social media today, websites in 2019, some of the changes that are happening, and how you guys can take advantage of the current landscape to build your businesses. So with that, welcome to the podcast, Sebastian.
Thanks so much for the invitation, Patric.
No problem. And one of the things I want to jump right into is I actually have to admit right out of the gate, I'm very envious of Sebastian's company builds beautiful websites. I mean, I look at his websites as ones that I aspire, our company aspires to. So one of the things I wanted to talk about was, what is the role of in your opinion, you guys obviously build websites that look great, but one of the questions that comes up in a digital landscape that's dominated with social media, what's the role of a website in 2019 and going forward, quite honestly, as brands continue to evolve and companies continue to evolve? What should they be thinking about with regard to their website and the role it plays in their digital marketing?
Yeah, I remember a funny conversation I had with a business partner like 10 years ago. It's been when Facebook was really going up, and he was saying people, they won't need websites anymore in the future because Facebook page is enough. No one will spend any more time on websites. In my personal opinion, it's the other way around now, because a website is something you own. And you can't build a mansion on rented land. When you have Facebook fans, or even Instagram followers or Twitter, you can have millions of followers, but you didn't really own them. Facebook, Instagram owns the followers, but not you. So whenever Facebook's not in anymore, or they shut down your account, you don't have anything. So I always see the website as the mansion itself. It's where everything meets. Like Facebook, Instagram, all social media are channels which actually drive traffic to the website, because the website usually for our client is where the magic, the conversions happen.
It's interesting you say that, because I refer with our clients that the website is the hub of the wheel, like the center of the wheel, and all the social media platforms and everything you're doing to engage are the rim and the spokes and things like that. But all of that's designed to drive people back to the website. And it's interesting you said that about, obviously, numerous brands that spent a lot of time building, people that liked their pages on Facebook and people that followed their pages on Instagram are finding out as the algorithms change, the engagement they're getting is going down. So to your point, I think it makes sense to say if you're building on the foundation of your website and utilizing these platforms to drive people back to your website, you're always going to be on firm ground. But if you're building your foundation on these platforms and they change,
you just have to know who you're playing with. If you put all what you have in platforms which you don't really own, you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. So when we do digital strategies, which include social media and websites, it's always a 360-degree circle for us. It all has to work together, so we don't really separate. But the website usually is where you would put a conversion pixel to even drive the traffic back to the Instagram channels or Facebook. But all the data you actually own, and that's, in my opinion, the currency of today is the data you own, you gain with the website.
I mean, that's a great point that you brought up that I don't think a lot of people think about unless they're working with an agency or they're very into web development, is if you're active on social media, make sure that as you're driving traffic back to your website that you have a conversion pixel and that you're capturing that data. And obviously, if you can, a lot of people don't think that much about email these days because email seems a little bit old school, but I always tell people you should definitely try whenever possible to continue to build your email list.
Definitely.
That's something that you own, to your point.
Yes.
And you can utilize email lists for a variety of things. You can build custom audiences on Facebook and Instagram and market to them. I always think that it's always to your benefit to try to create a conversion on your website that ends up getting you somebody's email information.
Yes. Definitely, with emails, it's the data you actually own, and it's not just for newsletters. Like you said, you can do a custom audience, from the custom audience, you can do a lookalike audience. So basically, emails is the most important thing you can actually own as data, in my opinion.
Now, one of the things that you guys deal with a lot differently in Europe than we do in the U.S. are privacy concerns with regard to emails. You want to talk a little bit about, because I happen to believe that what you guys are, the things that are happening in Europe are coming to the U.S.
Yes.
We're just going to probably be a couple years behind. So what are some of the privacy regulations, hurdles, things like that you guys have to do in Europe that we maybe don't have to do quite yet in the U.S., but it's definitely coming, because that gives us a little insight into the future, I think.
Yeah, in Germany last year on May 25th, we've had the DSGVO, which means General Data Protection Regulation. Maybe you've heard of that.
Yeah.
It was very massive because we had to change like 200 websites in less than a month, which basically includes they all have to be encrypted with SSL. So you need to have a HTTPS certificate to do that. Then you need to have a full privacy policy. Best thing to do this with an attorney. It's like very, very long. You have to add a confirmation field to every contact form on your website that you agree with the privacy policy. These are the main things which need to be done. So it's been pretty massive, and I think it's also, you have to do this in the United States as well, as long as you deal with German visitors on the website.
Now, didn't you mention the last time you and I had coffee in New York here, we were talking about even widgets that are used on websites to display social media? You guys are not allowed to utilize those anymore.
Yeah, like especially iframes, or let's say scripts like the Facebook like button. I think they even disabled it for the whole world. Because the thing is, if you have something from an external, or even Google Fonts, if you use Google Fonts, whenever the website connects to an external data source, your IP address is being submitted to another client like Google or Facebook, where you wouldn't know what they do with the data. So actually, to be GDPR confirmed, you need to download the Google font to your own local server. So you're not allowed to do any external connection to other websites.
So even with iframes, because a lot of the clients we work with sell products that are manufactured by other brands, and some of those other brands have simulators and things like that they've created, and it's not uncommon at all for us to integrate an iframe from the manufacturer into the website, because it doesn't make sense for each website to have its own simulator built into it. Is that allowed in Germany or not?
It is. So you're allowed to do it, but you have to inform the visitor first. So you would not be allowed to do it on the homepage. First, you have to give him the chance to read the privacy policy, and then being able to do the iframe. So as long as you put it on not on the homepage, but on another page where the visitor would possibly be able to click into the privacy policy link, read first, and then interact with it, it's okay.
Okay. It's interesting, like I said, the reason I'm asking this is because I happen to believe that we're probably 18 months to 24 months removed from us having the same regulations here.
Might happen.
So it makes sense for people to start. We spoke a little bit earlier about websites being increasingly, as time goes on, viewed as an evolution and not ever a done process. It's just something that's going to continue to need to be evolved, and I actually feel like it makes sense for people in the United States to start looking at what's happening in Europe and start thinking of, okay, if my website is built with a lot of plugins and things like that that are going to become a problem, maybe I need to start evolving it now rather than scrambling at the last moment to try to make it compliant.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just about the compliance, it's also about performance. The more plugins you use, I think you use WordPress as well, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah, the more plugins you use, the more code you have, the more slow the websites get. So whenever we would develop a website, we always try to use as little plugins as possible.
Yep.
That's one major thing to do. Also because with external plugins, you never know what actually happens with the data.
Well, I mean, with websites in general, I mean, getting back to some of what the listeners might be interested, though, what do you feel, obviously we talked about it kind of being the center of where people are at, but do you feel like a website in 2019 should be something, like how often do you recommend to your clients that they need to be changing the look, feel, navigation of their website, just keeping it fresh, not only for Google and for the SEO benefits, but just from a standpoint of brand image, things of that nature. How often, and again, I love the websites you build because I think visually they're outstanding, and I love the way that you integrate a lot of things that just really captivate people, want to where they want to stay and spend some time on the website.
So mostly it's around 3 to 5 years when clients ask us whether we can rebuild the website. And it's also like a time frame within 3 to 5 years, many things happen within a company. So it makes sense for them to display the company from another angle. Maybe they did their corporate branding new. That might be one case. So it's not just the technical part, but also for being more interesting for the visitors.
Now, we were talking earlier, though, that you guys are starting to look at the idea of just a website just constantly evolving. I mean, what is your thoughts on that as far as just saying, rather than it being every 3 to 5 years we're going to completely rebuild the website, like every 3 to 4 months there's going to be something new, or we're going to change something to where that website in a matter of 3 to 5 years is a completely different website, but it didn't happen all at once. It happened in steps.
I think a website never really is finished. Mm-hmm. So a website is something which needs to live, like Facebook or Instagram, because otherwise why would a visitor return? That's the main thing. That being said, I think a website should at least be updated with new blog posts or content once a month. From a technical side, like what can be done, like new tools like social walls or stuff like that, I would do this probably like 3 to 4 months and then offer each client, we can sit together, analyze the website, take a look in Google Analytics, like what do your visitors actually look for on the website, and then try to improve this. So it's constant continuation of the work.
Okay.
It's always about analysis. Take a look at Google and see what your audience is doing, and then you know what to do.
Now, when you guys are working with clients and integrating social media, and we talked a bit earlier about some of the platforms that are popular in Europe are not the same platforms that are popular in the United States. When you guys are starting to, what are some of the things that you guys do on social media with your clients there to try to encourage that traffic back to the website? Do you create, obviously there's a lot of different ways to create content, everything from visual to video and things like that, but what are some of the things that you found have been effective in converting visitors in a social media channel to website visitors?
It's mostly education. So I think people are on social media for either education or entertainment. Websites give you much opportunity to educate your visitors. So what works pretty well for us is if we do like video teasers in Facebook or Instagram, which just open a huge question and then go back to the website to give an answer to that. Here we have Josh.
Hey. Sorry, did I interrupt? Here, I'll leave.
No, it's okay.
Whenever you guys are filming another podcast?
Yeah. Just real quick, but we'll be done.
Like 5 more minutes.
Okay, perfect.
All right.
But I like the glasses.
So, we're actually, I think, going to go up to the roof in VaynerMedia and share a bottle of empathy wine. So we're going to wrap this podcast up pretty quick.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
But one last thing I want to talk about is, as far as social media goes, obviously things have changed. I mean, what do you as an agency, and then as it goes further down to your clients, advise as far as, we don't know, obviously Facebook and Instagram are big. None of us are fortune tellers. We don't know what the big platform is going to be 5 years from now. But how do you find that you as an agency and then subsequently your clients can stay on top of understanding when things are changing, when you need to be involved in new platforms, and when to make that jump? Because for a lot of our clients, it comes down to there's so many platforms and there's only so much time in the day. Like, we can't possibly be active on all of them. We have to make a choice, and sometimes as one is fading away, another one's coming up. So you have to understand when that's happening. How do you guys manage that?
I think it's basically two things. One thing is, like best example, we're here at VaynerMedia to have a joint venture with other agencies who are very well connected to the channels themselves. Like, they know Facebook, they know Instagram, they know very high people there, so they get the news first, and we get them, like as you do, on the later gram. So that is one thing, and the other thing is just experience. You try out things and see what happens. and you see what happens on Facebook, and that traffic more and more gets into Instagram. So it's one thing is being connected. For me, being on conferences around the world. Funny thing is, you said like Germany is ahead of time, like 2 years from data protection. I think that the United States actually is 2 years before Germany when it comes to social media. So,
I agree with that. I think what's going to happen that's going to flow the other way is more the privacy concerns, because a lot of people in the U.S. are starting to really understand the privacy side of it, and they want more privacy. And I think that's already been, an issue in Europe. But I do agree that social media, I think the channels are a little bit earlier here, and then they kind of go overseas.
So for me, it's traveling like to United States or even to Asia, where they are on top of the game to know what's going to happen. And then 2 years later, it usually is the case in Germany. And the other thing is like just trying things out. Like even if we have a new client, the strategy for client A never also works for client B. So you have to just try out which works best for each client.
I like what you said too, and I think we can end on this. One of the reasons that I think our clients need to be involved in industry groups or groups with people that do similar businesses to them is that they can share ideas. One of the reasons that Sebastian and I have become friends and interact is because with him having an agency in Germany and us having one in the United States, we can share ideas. I can ask him, hey, how are you guys dealing with this? And he can ask me, and we can bounce ideas off each other. It's also one of the reasons, as he mentioned, that we're here at VaynerMedia, because they're doing the same thing we're doing on a much larger level. So to be part of an extended network of, my company being able to work with Making the Web and being able to work with people at VaynerMedia and understand what other agencies are doing allows me to better educate myself to come back and share that information with our clients. But I think that same opportunity exists for our clients to interact with their expanded network, to understand if you're an owner of a particular type of business in Atlanta, Georgia, and you can find a way to interact with somebody that has a similar business in Las Vegas, Nevada, you can have that same relationship and understand, hey, this is what we're doing, and hey, we tried this and it's really working great for us. And I think networking, even in a digital age, there's never been a time where I think the importance of relationships is as great as it is today. When people would think that social media has made us more, has diminished relationships, but I think it's greater today.
It is. So many people say that Instagram or even like all the social networks, they are bad for personal relationships or even for business ones. In my opinion, it's not. It just gives you another channel to being connected. And I mean, how like 10 to 20 years ago would have been possible to being connected to an American agency for me as a German? It's just another way of communication. I think it's very exciting what's coming up for next.
Absolutely. Well, with that, we're going to close because I think we're being called to the roof of this building to have some empathy wine, so we don't want to miss out on that. And I want to thank Sebastian for being here, and I want to thank the guys at VaynerMedia for allowing us to use this space and take advantage of these awesome offices for the day. So with that, take care, everybody.
Thanks, bye.